Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the final hour of Tip FM, or Tip Today even. Liam was on to us and he said, so if anybody sees 40 plus people heading in any one direction other than the Tipperary hurling game, follow them. So that's making reference to my conversation with Frank there about the bunker that's in Tipperary somewhere. Delighted to be joined by our relationship expert, Susan O'Donoghue. There'd be great work for you in a bunker, I'd say, with...
Would there?
With 40 people trying to relate to each other.
Yeah, to be a test and a half, I'd say.
Wouldn't it just? Interesting. You're going to talk to us about exploring self-esteem, and with the conversation we had off air, I'll be listening very attentively to this. What is it about self-esteem? Why do we scupper our own self-esteem?
I know, and I suppose if we look at what self-esteem is, right, and self-esteem is subjective, right? So it's the overall evaluation of your own worth or value. That's kind of what it is, isn't it? Yeah. We look at ourselves and think, oh God, I'm useless, or God, I'm not worth it, or, oh, they'll never like me, or, why would they like someone like that? So I suppose there's different levels of self-esteem, and there's a healthy self-esteem which involves appreciating your own worth, accepting yourself despite, when we get it wrong. And I think failure is huge in this, because it's how you're brought up to look at failure, whether it's a stepping stone to success or whether it's an awful thing altogether and you got condemned for it, right? So we know that. We know it's about maintaining confidence and handling setbacks without blame. So it's without blaming yourself. So the lovely thing I started talking about in the beginning of the year, which was reflection, this is huge. It's all about reflection. In my own experience, and in any college course I've ever done, or whatever, anything I've ever explored or research I've ever read, it always comes back to the relationship with yourself, right? It always comes back to that reflection part about, what's unconscious and what do I need to bring to consciousness to move on, right? Because if I do the same thing over and over again and just stay in the conscious level I'm at, I'm never going to move on or never going to grow, because it's going to be too fearful for me. So I'm going to stay hidden, because if I come out into the open, for want of a better word, and I look at things and I consider things, I would have been probably killed, lambasted, put down, told I was wrong. So all that has a huge impact. So we need to reflect on how it is for us. And I suppose low self-esteem, what that looks like is like self-doubt, constant self-criticism, focusing on weaknesses, and feeling not good enough. And the fear of failure again comes into that. It's huge. And a lot of times I'll say to people, is your cup half full or is your cup half empty? Yeah. Because you'll see people and you go, oh my God, they're so optimistic. They're always looking on the good side. But it helps, doesn't it? It helps to see the good in stuff rather than the terrible things all the time.
Yeah, I love people like that, because it's an antidote to the way I'd be feeling most of the time.
Yeah, it does help. It lifts your spirits.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So how is it that I see things as my cup is half empty the whole time? How is it that everything's doom and gloom? How is it that, what's the fear behind it? What would happen if I saw things as, there's other things now and that, and there is, I suppose, options. There is ways out of this situation. It's not all doom and gloom. I have choice here. Yes. So when we start bringing that into it, see, there's the reflection part. If I don't do that, I'll never see that. So it's about, do I have a safe space to look at my own life? Because the issue was, I probably, more than likely, in my experience, 100%, didn't have that safety to look at what was happening around me and not take on others' stuff. Yeah. Yes. So every parent in the world, right, I don't care who they are, comes in with baggage. This is just part of living, right? It's part of our experience in life. So there is no blame, there is no shame, there is no right or wrong. We are exactly where we need to be. And I suppose we know that our self-esteem and our self-worth and our self-conscious, not our self-worth because we're born worthy, but our sense of self-worth is hugely impacted by our childhood experiences. There's no doubt in my head. It's researched till we're blue, right? And the relationship with parents, teachers and peers, as well as personal achievements or failures, they impact how it is for us, right? And we know that this impacts our mental health, motivation and the ability to create boundaries for ourselves and feel that safety, right? Because we don't feel like maybe we're worthy or we're valuable enough for that. And to me, that's really sad, right? And there's also another self-esteem, I suppose, part of it, and that's the excessive one. And this is quite interesting, right? Because I don't think a lot of us have this, but sometimes you might meet someone who has, and that's where they're.
Well, there's an overrated sense of your own importance, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's a reason for it, Fran, because it's the same. It's a different side of the same coin. Rather, it's not. It's not any better or any worse than having low self-esteem. In fact, it's nearly equal to it, because now I'm going to take on tasks and I don't have the competence or the confidence maybe to complete it. I might have a pseudo confidence where I think I can rule the world, but that's different than real confidence. Because real confidence, it's that I know I've put in the work, I know I've done what it is, and I know I'm capable of giving this a try. And if I do fail, that's okay, I can try again.
Yes.
How many people can say that?
Very few.
Yeah, it's not an easy one. It's a very difficult thing to get to, a place to get to. And remember, this is key for me in all of this, right? There's a reason why our self-esteem is the way it is, right? We didn't just randomly say, well, do you know what, I'm going to have low self-esteem. And when we look at it, it's huge for me, and it makes such an impact in my life to know that all these things that were defensive behaviours, because that's what lowers our self-esteem, because it's kind of like we go hidden, right? So to go hidden, there was a reason, number one, right? It was unsafe in some place, there was a threat. And the wisdom and the genius that's in each of us, right? As a small child, right? Probably started in the womb. We started to, I suppose, feel out what's safe and what's dangerous here. What do we need to create? What behaviours do we need to
protect
create?
ourselves?
To protect, like the wisdom. I'm like, you know that I get blown away by this stuff because I'm just so into it. But I see that in myself. And now if I can see that in myself, it takes a whole lot of the shame and the blame of low self-esteem or an oversense of rated high esteem. It's not even high esteem, but it's an exaggerated self-esteem. Like, it takes away, I suppose, the blame in that, because I see the genius that it took to create these behaviours.
But it's a light bulb moment for me to realise, and it's quite clear to me now that you've said it, that people with an overrated sense of their own importance or their own esteem would be coming from the same place as somebody who was struggling with esteem.
100%.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because they just chose a different option, because we're never going to be the same. We all want to be seen, unique, and we want to have that lovely sense of belonging, and we want to stand out, but we also want to blend in. And you see this a lot in teenagers, don't you?
Yeah.
Where they're all dressed the same,
There's
they all
a
look
uniform
the same.
almost, yeah.
But they still want to be seen, right? Behind all that. But there's too much of a fear there, maybe for a lot of them. Now, some of them there's not, but for a lot of them, maybe there's too much of a fear to go, here I am, see me, this is my unique sense of style, it's my because it's too threatening.
Yes, of course. And where does the narcissist come into this then, as that overrated sort of sense of your own importance?
Yeah, there's a difference in that, isn't it?
Is that different?
Yeah,
yes.
Because overly high esteem is often misplaced as narcissism, right? However, there are some distinct traits that differentiate these terms. Individual with narcissistic traits may appear to have high self-esteem, but their self-esteem may be high or low, as is unstable, constantly shifting depending on their given situation. So it wouldn't be the same as that. It's not. A narcissist is totally different. It may be preoccupied with being perfect, maybe focused on always being right, maybe they can't fail. That's more of, that overrated sense of self-esteem. May believe they are more skilled or better than others, may express grandiosity, whereas self-esteem is too high. It can result in relationship problems, difficulties with social situations, and the inability to accept criticism. So criticism for somebody with that sense of overrated self-esteem is just, they're not able. Yeah, it's too much to be told, to be criticised. So can you see where that may have come from in their childhood?
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? What is the ideal? What should you strive for?
Right. So how would you improve it, right? I'm telling you, reflection is finding a safe place where you can look at how your behaviours are, what behaviours, because remember, we're so amazing and so fabulous that when we do feel a bit of safety, right, our innate sense is that, God, there's a bit of safety here now, so it's safe enough to explore what's going on for me. And when that happens, what you'll notice sometimes, you know, something will happen in your life as regards some behaviour that you're after doing, and it won't sit right for you. You'll feel, oh God, that's not... Do you ever, like, I often think, you know, when the kids are small, this is only a very small example now, right? But when the kids were small and if they did something and you kind of go, you lose the plot with them, right? And you're going to yourself, the shame, the guilt, the terribleness of it afterwards, you feel horrendous. That's your good self letting you know, this isn't where you want to be. This isn't okay for you. Yeah? So there's a bit of safety there now to look at that and think, what's coming up here for me now? How is it that horrible sense of, oh my God, I did something really wrong here? And that's just a broad one, like, but it gives that sense of, it gives a way in to look at it. So remember, our feelings never lie. Our feelings are created by us and for us, yeah? And they let us know what's happening inside for us. So when you get feelings of, say, I call them, like, you know, the emergency feelings, the ones that don't feel great, the ones that are upsetting, the ones that shake you up a bit, that's your way in. Right? But for a lot of us, we run from them.
But even if you find the way in, and even if you can identify the source of your low self-esteem, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can address it, though.
Well, if you find the safety, it does, right? Because if you've grown up in a household where you're told, cop on now, pull your socks up and get on with it, right? That's my recollection of a lot of it, right? If you're told that, your automatic, I suppose, your automatic response is going to be, pull your socks up and get on with it. Don't be whinging. What are you crying about? You're always, you know what I mean? Just move on with it. So if I'm brought up like that, if that's what's passed on to me, that's how dangerous the world is to look at it. So it's going to take a bit of safety and a bit of time and a bit of courage to build up that space where I can say, do you know what? It's okay. It's okay not to have to, you know, to be criticised. It's okay to, you know, be blamed for stuff. Because that's not my stuff. That's the person who's blaming me.
And again, to ask you about the ideal here, that you don't verge over into being overconfident or obnoxious or something. That ideal position to be in.
Yeah, just remember now what we said, right? That sense of, you know, being, I suppose, defensively using self-esteem with that, you know, that sense of being a bit, oh, see me, and right, that's a defence.
Okay.
So is the low self-esteem, right? So the two of them are the same thing, really.
So you'd have to be careful not to replace one.
No, I don't see that happening. If you find the safety and you find the space to reflect on it, you're not going to go there because you'll be looking at it. And you'll be thinking, how is it that, like, say I've really high self-esteem, right, but it's a defensive behaviour. It's not coming from, you know, whatever. It's not coming from reflection and practice on myself about taking care of myself. I'm going to trot in there and I'll still have the same, not the same feelings, but I'll still have feelings coming up there let me know it's not sitting right for me. Because when someone criticises me, I'll go into defence.
Yeah, of course.
I'll have a meltdown.
Do.
Yeah. So how now is it that somebody else's I suppose reflection or somebody else's the way they look at me matters so much to me? How is it I'm taking on their stuff? That's the key, because if it's true relationship that we'd put up our defences, right, and put everything in place to mind ourselves, it's going to be true relationship with another, firstly, that we'll get, I suppose, the ways in, that it'll open up paths for us to have a look at, how is it that I'm so defensive?
But again, and sorry, I keep harping on this, but the ideal surely is that, you know, I'm worthy, you know, I'm doing this to the best of my ability, and that's it, and that's me. Is that where we should be, where being healthy in our minds are concerned?
Should be. Got that one. And I say it as well the whole time. Yeah. But the thing about it is, I suppose, for me is, when you look at it, right, we're born worthy. We don't need to earn that. Every single individual here is born worthy, right? It's what we had to put in place to protect ourselves along the way. And that will veer us into low self-esteem. It'll veer us into, I suppose, that sense of elevated self-esteem. That's the opposite side. That's what that will push us into.
Yes.
Right? So if we don't have the space to look at that, because it won't sit right for us all the time, because people will touch into it, right? People will touch into my sense. If I have low self-esteem and someone comes over and they say, oh, sure, why wouldn't you give it a try? Oh my God, no, I'd never get, oh God, no. Why? How is it that I can't give it a try? Do you know what's happening for me? It's about that looking at yourself with compassion and with kindness, like you would if your child came home to you and said, "Oh, ma'am, I was in school today and they asked me to come up to the board and I nearly died."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I suppose that kind of thing being put in front of other people. And one of the hardest things, I think, in the world for people is public speaking.
Mm.
And even if you start there and ask yourself, could I stand in a room full of people and talk?
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
an interesting one, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what's very interesting? The amount of radio colleagues that I know of that do what I do every day to, whatever, 30,000 people or something, would find it difficult to stand in a room of 100 people and talk to them.
Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah.
of interesting because you're hiding here, I suppose, behind a microphone.
Yeah, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like there's other people
Yeah.
in the room with us, because there's not.
Yeah.
I know there's people listening, but it doesn't feel like that sense of, oh, all the people are listening to me. And like, there's more people listening here than most rooms would ever hold.
sure,
You know?
yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that. So it's that sense of safety. And I feel safe when I come in here because of who I meet.
Yes.
And that's,
Yeah.
that's the truth. I also have a sense of safety about myself now, because I'm after working really hard on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was born worthy, you were born worthy, but the things along the way knock the chips off you, don't they?
Well, that's for certain.
Yeah.
What is it about public speaking, by the way? What do you think
It's
it is?
judgment,
Is
isn't
it
it?
judgment?
Yeah,
They're,
it's that
they're
judgment.
judging me now.
Yeah.
And what is that? Everything? Voice, appearance,
Everything.
content of what you
It's
say. All of these things.
Did I look right? Do I have the right colour clothes on? Did I put on the right makeup for women? Did I have my hair all right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did I sneeze and there's something somewhere? Do you know what I mean? It's just the whole combination of it. It's really frightening.
Is the guess that what you listed out there came before what I'm actually going to say?
Oh, really?
It was all the cosmetic stuff. you know?
Yeah. That's what it is.
interesting,
It's the mask we hide behind.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's the mask we put on when we meet people. Every single day we do it.
Yeah.
We put on a mask. Depending on who the person is, the mask could be very defensive, or it could be slightly defensive if there's some sense of safety.
Yeah. And have you seen people change? Have you seen people with very
I've seen
low?
myself.
Okay. Yeah.
110%.
But you wouldn't have had very low self-esteem, would
I
you?
wouldn't have been great, Fran, in the beginning.
Wow.
I'd say I would have been very nervous about not being liked, very nervous about judgment, and that's the whole lovely separation thing again from what others see, what other
Yeah.
people think, feel and say about you. Because what they think, feel and say is created by them and for them. It's nothing to do with me. Right? So if their perception of me is whatever, oh, she's up, whatever, right? She's full of herself, or whatever their perception is. If I now take that on board, right?
Yeah.
How is that for me? And it's the same as if someone comes to me and say, oh my God, you're so fabulous, you're wonderful, you're whatever. Lovely to hear, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if I feed off that, and if that's my lifeline to how I feel about myself,
And if you need that.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Aren't I?
Yeah,
Like that's,
you are, yeah.
and that's where it comes from, is our, say, our childhoods, when we needed somebody to have our back and have our space. How our parents were with us, and how our carers were with us, or how our teachers were with us, or how anybody was with us that we needed to care for us, impacts us going forward.
Aren't we absolutely fascinating, for
I know.
sure? If people want to talk to you, how can they do that, Susan?
Sure, it's 086 3676 256 or info@emotionalwellbeing.ie. Thanks very much, Fran.
Very good. This isn't referring to you, it's referring to my last guest, but it says, why are you entertaining lunatics on the radio? My wife is running around looking for tins of beans to put in the tent in the bedroom at the moment.
Oh, it's brilliant. Brilliant.
Oh, I love that. All right, Susan, great to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
indeed.
Fran.
We'll take a break. Back with more in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck-On. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puck-On. See slatterysgarage.ie.